How's it going, guys? Welcome to the breakdown. My name's Will, and I'll be your host. So what I'm going to be doing today is going through some clips that I really enjoy, and kind of frame by framing them through in a program called Sync Sketch, where I can annotate and look at the parts and deconstruct the scene, and then I'm going to be recreating it in my own shot. So this is something that I originally got the idea from Jorge Vergara. I actually did his 4 rounds course, which, if you don't know anything about it, it's absolutely fantastic and I'd highly recommend it. But one of the things he talked about in the modules was taking a shot and just recreating it, a mirror image, because then you can learn how they've done things and the processes they've used to get that end result. So the shot I've gone for is from the movie Boss Baby. I absolutely love this movie. Love the first and the second one. And I really liked this shot in particular. When I watched the movie for the first time, it really caught my eye. So I'll quickly play it through it for you.
It was the baby's fault.
The baby's fault?
It's true. He can talk. They all can talk. They're having a meeting. There's something about puppies. It's one big baby conspiracy.
Awesome. Great work. big fan. So the scene I'm actually looking at in particular, I'll just show you, is this one here.
He can talk. They all can talk. They're having a... He can talk. They all can talk. They're having a...
So I really love this scene, and when I first watched the movie, it really took my eye, just because of the expressiveness of the character in the shot. So I'm going to kind of go through the shot and pick the parts of the shot I really like and the bits that stood out to me, and try and help me figure out how the artist has actually got through with it. So we kind of go through the main kind of the bits, the main kind of poses throughout the shot, and it starts out with this kind of general stance. So he's got a very neutral stance. So this is kind of your first kind of main pose I would look for. I'll just note that. And then he kind of goes along and bounces up, and then that's his kind of, he's pointing, he's angry, I'm telling you, listen to me, I'm telling you. So I'll mark this one as well. And so he comes up to this top. Here he's reached his top, his limit right there. The down and the up, he's gone from the down and now he's hitting the up. And then you're going to see him compress a bit. And he's got these really nice shoulders, that line of the shoulders where it's countering the hips. And he's gone down. So that's the down there. And then he pushed forward and then he snapped his head up. And then this is kind of where you can see he's really pushing forward his point. He's leaning forward with his body. He's saying, hey, listen to me. And then he comes forward a few frames, and this is really subtle. He's got this eye dart. So this is kind of, you can see where they move there, over that frame, shifts to the right, and then down a bit, and then down even more. So that's kind of him going through and realizing, oh, I'm in desperate need here. He's getting the desperation, he's worried, he's scared. So he's kind of starting to realize, they're not going to listen to me. I need to do something. And so you'll come forward a few. He's shaking his hand a bit there, and he starts to shake his head. So you can, it's kind of like the kettle boiling on the stove. And then here's where he goes to the down. So I love this kind of teeth here, where he's kind of, but that's kind of the tipping point before he goes down. So he really drops down over a few frames. And I love how they've done this head here. So you can see this kind of form of the head. This is the full kind of length of it there. And if we drop to this frame here, it's much longer and then gets back further to its original size. But you can see how over those 2 frames, how drastic the change in the head is. And that's a really nice standard squash and stretch. But I love when you're kind of going between 2 poses, keeping something in the original position of that pose. And it really adds to that stretchiness, that snappiness. So we'll go forward. Lovely smear here, really nice on those arms. And then he kind of, that's his full down there. That's really nice. He's closed the eyes. I love closing the eyes and pushing down the eyebrows and kind of really squishing that head in between poses. And then straight back up. So that's over kind of 4 frames. He's snapped up, and then this is the first kind of, oh my gosh, things are wrong here. So he's kind of got that panic, like that crazy man. Oh, he's got the big whites of the eyes there, And it's a really simple, nice pose. They haven't gone crazy with it because he's just a kid, but it conveys a lot of emotion, and really kind of leaning that head back is really nice. I love this. So everything in this kind of section really does a figure of 8. So he's kind of doing the hands. You can watch his chest is doing a figure 8 kind of circular motion as well, and his head is. And so he's all got it going in kind of different directions. So it kind of gets that feeling of chaos where everything's moving in different, and he's kind of becoming this liquid sort of form. And he's got that, they've tilted that head back just enough where he's kind of looking down his eyes, really just kind of really crazy on those eyes. And a nice little smear on that arm there. You can see how broken these arms are. Really nice. I'm a massive fan of breaking rigs. Sorry to all the riggers out there, but I absolutely love it. It's another one there. So he's had his freak out. Now he's changing in between poses. Nice little blink. I love doing the half blink when you're changing between two important poses. If you don't want to get a full blink in there, but kind of closing those eyes lets you change maybe the pupil size, or just gives you a transition between two different emotions. So I love that. And then he comes down. And this is kind of a nice sweep down. As you can see, he starts there and then he's dropped. He's looking up. That's kind of like that desperation, like kind of the Puss in Boots kind of looking up when you're really, really sad. And then he's kind of gathering everything. You can see he's sweeping with his arms, and he pops up and then finds rest in this final really quick desperation pose. So he's had his freak out and now he's like, oh, come on. Which I really, really love. That kind of, those kind of soft shoulders. He hasn't got a lot of strength. He's desperate. He's in desperation. Everything's down. He's just, really, really love that one there. And you can see, I love the liquidity of the mass. You can kind of see that stretch of that middle mass. If you watch, he goes up and then drops. His head goes up, but his shoulders go down. So the shoulders are there and the head's there, and then the head stays, but the shoulders have dropped, which is really, really nice. I'm a big fan of that. And just rotated that head a bit. And then he's got the eyebrows as well that are popping up. And then just those massive bright whites of those eyes, almost showing complete white, but you're just keeping contact there. It's always really good to keep a little bit of contact, for me at least, with the iris and the pupil, and just the edge of the eye, the skin. Otherwise, unless you're having that really, really crazy look in your eyes. And I love this kind of like, it always reminds me of McDonald's M for some reason. But this M, just this M shape of this mouth is just, I love that silhouette of it. And he's just kind of offset that, just kind of, you can see the shape of the face. He's offset it a bit to the side, and then he's given the head just a bit of tilt, which is really nice. And as I said before, those really, really soft shoulders, kind of lanky, slinky shoulders, kind of give you that desperation look. Something that I love to do is use audio and kind of beats as the way of setting up your scene. Now, obviously, this scene is set up, so I don't know how they set up. But for me, if I got that audio and I did the same thing, he can talk. They all can talk. They're having a meeting. So you can see how the artist has really found that kind of the flow and the rhythm of the shot. So I just really love it. I'm a massive fan, and I hope you guys are too. So I'm going to go through now and animate with the toy rig myself and try and replicate that scene as best as I can, and we'll come back and see how I went.
Dude, he can talk! They all can talk! They're having a meeting! Dude, he can talk! They all can talk! They're having a meeting! Dude, he can talk! They all can talk! They're having a meeting! Dude, he can talk! They all can talk! They're having a meeting! Dude, he can talk! They all can talk! They're having a meeting!
Okie dokie. And we're back. We've animated the shot, and absolutely nothing has changed. So I just wanted to kind of explain the things I learned along the way of reanimating this shot, and some things that I picked up and wanted to kind of explain to you guys. Normally, when I'm setting up a shot coming from a TV perspective, I'll try and aim for having my golden poses, my locked-in poses, and then I'll kind of have my breakdowns and then go through and do all the eases and overshoots and things like that. I definitely don't have a locked in setup, and it's something I need to work on, but it kind of changed pretty drastically with this shot, actually, because you go through the idea of golden poses kind of being, as the Animal Warriors course teaches, they're these bits, these containers of information, and each pose is so fleshed out and such a storytelling pose, and you really lock it down before you move on to your breakdowns and extra things. But for this, it kind of felt like there were a lot of golden poses that were really strong, but they all kind of were cohesive. So it almost felt like the artist really kind of got the idea of the character and the idea of how they wanted the character to feel in the scene and kind of stretched it out and fleshed it out. And it's just beautiful because it feels like one continuous performance. And for me, that's something hard to do, really, to keep that performance consistent, to keep it believable, and to keep it enjoyable for the viewer, to keep them hooked in. And I really, really enjoyed that. So for something more specific to talk about, just the way that they worked with the head and the cog in particular. So there was a lot of areas where they had the kind of like the shakes in their heads, and that's what I love when people do that, when the kind of, if they're talking in there, and as I'm doing now, if you're talking and you're positive when you're talking, you're nodding in your head, and if you don't really like it, you're shaking your head. And they added a lot of subtle movements in like that within the shot, and I really, really enjoyed it, and kind of went through and realized I didn't see a lot of them, just watching it back, until I went in and kind of picked apart the shot that I found them, and they were really, really nice. So something that I took from it is deconstructing, the arcs. Say you're doing head dips and moves and where things are moving from point A to point B, instead of having instead of moving a straight upward movement, you kind of add a bit of change to that, and it's a bit of detail that I think I, as a TV animator, need to add into my shots, because it kind of it just fleshes it out and just puts that extra layer of polish on it that I really enjoy. So some extra things that I want to point out, there's a lot of details and a lot of polishing and fine little movements. So we've got things like the eye darts. They were really nice, and kind of once you go in and do them yourself, you realize how prominent they are and how obvious it is. But when you're watching it, you don't really see it and notice it. You just feel it, that erraticness in behavior. There was also a lot of movement in the head, kind of pivoting on a gimbal. So he's got these crazy shoulders going, but his head is sort of keeping straight a little. And from my kind of interpretation of that, is they're keeping the character involved and kind of lined up to the camera, so that his emotions can be felt and read very clearly. So even though he's so erratic with his behavior and he's flailing these arms around like crazy, his face is still fairly front onto the camera. You can see his eyes are always trained on the parents off screen, and that's kind of keeping the character readable and noticeable for the audience, and also keeps him connected. So if he kind of ducked around and disappeared, it breaks the connection between the audience and the character for a few frames, and that might be enough to kind of decrease from the performance. So I really liked how they did that. There was also some really nice little details on the face and the silhouettes that the head creates and the mouth creates, kind of this fleshiness as it's bouncing up and down. The other does the same, and they kind of mimic each other. And it just shows the detail that you can add to facial animation, the extra little things that make it feel that kind of squishy fleshiness, and kind of brings it back from being rigid and untouched. Really adds to the performance, and that's something I want to take away from it, is going to those extra little details that make the face feel malleable and real, like a real human face. Adds so much to the performance. And there we have it. That's the first episode of The Breakdown done and dusted. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I hope you guys did too. If you've got any feedback or knowledge or critique that you wanted to pass on to me that could make the series better in any way, shape or form, please do let me know, because I'm looking forward to making more of these. I really, really enjoyed this, and it allowed me to try and hone in on my skills and be a better artist, because I always love doing that. I know there's so much more room for me to grow as an artist and as an animator. So I appreciate you giving me the time to come into your living rooms and talk a little bit of nonsense. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.